What happens when a beloved comedian steps onto a talk show stage and completely flips the script on the host using nothing but raw, unfiltered truth? Buckle up, because what went down between Joy Behar and Leanne Morgan on The View was nothing short of legendary. But before we dive into this epic showdown, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment, because you won't want to miss a second of this. Joy Behar took her seat at the table, that familiar smug expression plastered across her face. The one that screams, "I run this room, and everyone else just exists here." Her perfectly coiffed hair glimmered under the studio lights as she shuffled through her notes, ready for what she assumed would be another effortless interview. Another opportunity to show off her supposed comedic genius against a small-town comedian. The producers had booked Leanne Morgan, the rising star of country comedy. To Joy, this was going to be a breeze, a chance to land a few quick jabs and look brilliant doing it. "All right, ladies, we're back," Joy announced with her signature dramatic flair. "I'm here with Leanne Morgan, who apparently thinks joking about small-town life makes her the next big thing in comedy. Leanne, honey, tell our viewers, what makes your little story so special?" Every word dripped with condescension. The co-hosts shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension that was already starting to crackle in the air. Leanne, dressed simply yet elegantly, her outfit radiating authenticity over artifice, smiled politely, but her eyes betrayed the fact that she had already sized Joy up. "Well, Joy," she began, her Tennessee drawl warm but firm, "what makes my comedy special is that it comes from a real place. I talk about life as it really is, real struggles, real people. You don't have to put on airs or talk down to folks to get a laugh." Joy's confident smile wavered just slightly before snapping back into place. "Oh, please, real comedy requires intelligence, sophistication. Anyone can tell stories about their hometown and get a few chuckles from people who don't know any better." But then Leanne leaned forward just a touch, her tone still sweet, yet edged with a quiet fire that made the audience lean in. "You know what's funny to me, Joy? I've been watching your show for years, and I keep waiting for you to say something genuinely funny, instead of just mean-spirited." The studio fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Joy, the seasoned veteran who had spent decades cutting down anyone in her path, had just been politely disarmed by a country comedian. "Excuse me?" Joy's voice rose an octave. "I've been doing comedy longer than you've been alive, sweetie. Don't come on my show and lecture me about what's funny." Leanne's calm smile never faltered. "I'm not lecturing you, Joy. I'm just observing. See, where I come from, we're taught that being mean isn't the same as being funny. But maybe that's just small-town values talking." Joy's hands clenched. "Small-town values? You mean small-minded thinking? Real comedy challenges people. It makes them think. It's not all sunshine and rainbows like your folksy routine." Leanne nodded thoughtfully. "You're right, Joy. Real comedy does challenge people. But tell me, when was the last time you told a joke that brought people together instead of tearing them down? When did you last make someone feel better about themselves instead of worse?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Joy opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time in decades, the woman famous for her sharp comebacks was utterly speechless. Whoopi Goldberg jumped in, trying to steer the conversation back on track. "Well, this is getting interesting. Let's talk about your tour, Leanne." But Joy wasn't finished. Her ego refused to yield. "Wait a minute. Are you seriously trying to school me on comedy? Do you even realize who you're talking to? I've been on television longer than you've been telling jokes at. Whatever it is you do." Leanne's smile remained unshaken. church socials, comedy clubs, theaters, you name it. But Joy, it doesn't matter where you perform or how long you've been doing it if you've forgotten why you started. Comedy is supposed to heal, not hurt, Joy snapped, her composure completely shattered. Oh, spare me the after-school special philosophy. Comedy is supposed to be about truth. And the truth is, not everyone is cut out for this business. Some people belong on local circuits, performing for small crowds, instead of stepping into the big leagues. The audience was starting to squirm now, sensing the real tension radiating from Joy. But Leanne? She remained as calm and steady as a quiet summer evening, letting Joy dig herself deeper with every word. "Big girls," Leanne repeated softly, her voice calm but carrying an unspoken weight like steel hidden under silk. "Joy, honey, let me tell you something about big girls. Big girls don't tear others down to feel important. Big girls lift people up." Joy scoffed, dismissive. "Please, this isn't kindergarten, it's show business. If you can't handle a little criticism, maybe you should crawl back to whatever small-town comedy night you came from." Leanne tilted her head, a look of mild confusion crossing her face. "Criticism? Is that what you call it? Where I come from, we just call that being ugly for no reason. But since you brought it up, let me offer you some real criticism." The audience leaned in. Even the camera operators seemed closer, sensing the storm about to break. Joy's co-hosts exchanged nervous glances. Something explosive was about to happen. "Your whole career," Leanne continued, her voice soft but precise, "has been built on punching down. You make fun of people who can't fight back. You mock folks who don't have a platform to defend themselves. And you call it comedy. But real comedy, Joy, real comedy punches up. It takes aim at power, not at people just trying to make their way in the world." Joy's face turned crimson. "How dare you come on my show and psychoanalyze me? You don't know anything about my career or what I've accomplished?" Leanne smiled sweetly, almost pitying. "Oh, I know plenty. I know you've spent years making jokes at the expense of regular people. I know you think being from New York automatically makes you smarter than everyone else. I know you built your brand around being the mean girl who never grew up. And honestly, Joy, it's just sad. Sad." Joy's voice cracked. "I'm successful. I have a career. I have influence. What do you have? A few YouTube videos and county fair gigs?" Leanne laughed, and it was the most genuine sound the studio had heard in years. "You know what I have, Joy? I have people leaving my shows feeling better about themselves. I have fans who tell me my comedy helped them through tough times. I have the respect of my peers because I treat people with dignity. Can you say the same?" The silence that followed was deafening. Joy opened and closed her mouth like a fish out of water, struggling for a comeback that wouldn't make her look even worse. Sunny host tried to step in. "Well, different comedians have different styles." "Different styles?" Leanne interrupted gently, locking eyes on Joy. "Is cruelty a style now? Because that's all I've seen today. You invited me here not to have a conversation, but to try to embarrass me. And the sad part? You only embarrassed yourself." Joy finally found her voice, shaking with rage. "You think you're so much better than me with your folksy wisdom and holier-than-thou attitude? This business will chew you up and spit you out. Nice girls finish last." "Maybe," Leanne replied thoughtfully, "but at least they finish with their souls intact. Tell me, Joy, when you go home at night, are you proud of the person you've become? When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see?" The question landed like a punch. Joy's composure crumbled, and for a fleeting moment, The mask slipped. The audience saw past the bravado to the insecure, bitter woman underneath. "I don't have to listen to this," Joy stammered, hands shaking, fumbling with her notes. "This isn't your show, Joy," Leanne said quietly. "It's the audience's show. They decide what's worth watching. And right now, they're watching you throw a tantrum because someone finally had the courage to tell the truth." Joy glanced at her co-hosts, expecting solidarity, but found only uncomfortable silence. Whoopi studied her hands, Sunny stared at the ceiling, and the others avoided her gaze entirely. And in that moment, Joy realized she was completely alone. "You don't understand," she muttered, but the words had no power anymore. Joy's voice had dropped to a whisper now. "This is how this business works. You have to be tough. You have to fight for your place." "No, honey," Leanne said softly, almost pitying. "You don't have to become a monster to succeed. You chose to become one. And the saddest part? You convinced yourself it was necessary, when really, it was just easier than doing the hard work of being genuinely funny." The studio was so quiet, you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Joy stared at Leanne, a mixture of hatred and something else flickering in her eyes, something dangerously close to recognition. For a fleeting moment, she saw herself clearly, as if through a mirror she hadn't looked into in years. Her breathing grew shallow and rapid. But that brief clarity quickly turned back into fury. She couldn't handle what Leanne was holding up for her to see. So, like always, she attacked. "You know what?" Joy snapped, standing abruptly, her chair screeching across the floor. "I've had enough of this sanctimonious garbage. You come on here acting like some kind of comedy saint, but you're nothing. You're a nobody from nowhere, trying to lecture me about my career." Leanne remained seated, calm and composed, her expression more compassionate than triumphant. "Joy, please, sit down. We're just having a conversation." "No!" Joy's voice boomed, echoing through the studio. "This isn't a conversation. This is an ambush. You came here to make me look bad, and I won't stand for it." The audience shifted in their seats, some already pulling out phones to record what was rapidly becoming a historic meltdown. In the control room, producers scrambled, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the chaos unfold. "I didn't come here with any agenda," Leanne said softly. "I just came to talk about comedy. But if you feel attacked, maybe ask yourself why. Sometimes the truth feels like an attack, because we've been lying to ourselves for so long." Joy slammed her hand on the table, making the coffee mugs jump. "Stop with your folksy psychology and fake wisdom. You think you're so smart, so insightful? Well, here's some insight for you. This business is cutthroat, survival of the fittest. And the fittest isn't some small-town nobody who thinks she can waltz in and lecture her betters." "Joy, maybe we should—" Whoopi tried to intervene. "Don't you start too, Whoopi," Joy snapped, spinning toward her co-host. "I'm the one with the edge. I ask the tough questions. I say what everyone else is thinking." "Is that what you think you do?" Leanne cut through Joy's tirade like a knife. "Because what I see is someone who mistakes cruelty for courage, someone who confuses being mean with being smart. You don't ask tough questions, Joy. You just ask cruel ones." Joy's face had turned purple, her spit flying as she spoke. "I don't have to take this from some amateur who probably learned comedy from sitcom reruns. You want to know what real comedy is? Real comedy tells the truth, even when it hurts. And the truth is, you'll never be more than a novelty act. A cute little distraction for people who don't appreciate real talent." The silence that followed wasn't just uncomfortable, it was damning. Even Joy seemed to realize she had gone too far, but rage held her fast. Leanne stood slowly, deliberately, each movement graceful. Her voice, carrying a quiet sadness, made her words even more cutting. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. Comedy is about telling the truth, even when it hurts. So here's a truth for you. You're not the victim. You're not the wronged party. You're just a bitter woman who has spent years tearing others down. And along the way, you forgot how to build anything up, even yourself. Joy opened her mouth to fire back, but Leanne raised a gentle hand. I came here today excited to meet you, she continued. I grew up watching you, thinking you were strong, funny, someone who had made it in a tough business. But what I see now is someone who let that business turn her into something ugly. And the saddest part? You don't even see it. How dare you, Joy whispered, her voice cracking, as the audience sat in stunned silence, witnessing a rare, unfiltered confrontation unfold live on television. But there was no fire left in Joy's voice. I dare, Leanne said softly, almost like a whisper carrying the weight of inevitability. Because someone needs to. Your co-hosts won't tell you. Your producers won't tell you. Your audience deserves better than what you've become. But they keep watching. Out of habit. Not because you bring them joy. When was the last time you brought anyone joy, Joy? When? The question hung in the air like a sentence pronounced by a judge. Joy looked around the studio, at the cameras, at the audience, at her co-hosts, and for the first time, it seemed she truly saw what everyone else had been seeing all along. A broken, bitter woman who had traded her humanity for the illusion of power. I've been doing this for 30 years, Joy whispered, as if the number itself could shield her from the truth. And what do you have to show for it? Leanne asked gently. Really? Yes, because from where I'm sitting, all I see is someone who spent 3 decades becoming someone nobody wants to be around. Unless they're being paid to. Joy's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. But then anger flared again. One last desperate attempt to hold on to control. You think you've won something here? Her voice became shrill, laced with desperation. You think humiliating me makes you feel good? Congratulations. You've destroyed someone who was already down. That must feel amazing. Leanne remained calm, quiet, and devastatingly honest. No, Joy. It makes me sad. I see the person you could have been. I see glimpses of the comedian who probably started out wanting to make people laugh, not make them cry. But you buried her, under years of bitterness and cruelty. I don't even think you remember who she was. Joy swayed slightly, as if Leanne's words had physically staggered her. The fight had gone out of her completely. She looked around the studio one last time. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. I can't do this anymore. Without another word, she walked off the set. Not with the dramatic flair of someone trying to make a point, but with the quiet, defeated shuffle of someone who had finally seen herself clearly and couldn't bear the sight. The echo of her heels on the studio floor lingered, fading into silence. The cameras kept rolling. The audience sat in stunned silence. Leanne watched, her expression soft, genuinely sad, as Joy disappeared into the wings. Whoopi tried to salvage the moment. Well, that was certainly something, Leanne. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for having me, Leanne replied, but her heart wasn't in the pleasantries anymore. I hope Joy finds what she's looking for. As the show cut to commercial, the audience began to process what they had just witnessed. They had come expecting light entertainment, and instead had seen the psychological unraveling of a television personality who had spent decades hiding behind cynicism and cruelty. In the end, it wasn't yelling, insults, or confrontation that brought Joy Behar down. It was something far more powerful, simple, unvarnished truth, delivered with compassion by someone who refused to play by her rules. And that's how a small-town comedian from Tennessee did what no politician, celebrity, or fellow comedian ever could. She held up a mirror and made Joy Behar confront exactly who she had become. The image was so unbearable that Joy couldn't face it anymore.